Hello everyone, it's me again, Mao Mao. Today, I will recap the movie Hunter Killer. What would happen if the US nuclear submarine went straight into Russia's military base in the Arctic? You will be even more surprised when the Americans end up rescuing the Russian president, the Russian Minister of Defense rebels, and wants to start a war with the US. The two sides begin a missile confrontation in Russian waters. Who will win in this battle between two giants? Let's start and find out together. An American submarine is sent to Russia's Barents Sea waters. They are tracking a Russian submarine. But suddenly, the submarine explodes and sinks into the ocean. Before they can even process it, the American submarine detects a torpedo. But just after notifying, it is also hit by a torpedo, losing contact and going missing. The cause is unclear. Whether Russia is responsible for this incident. At the Pentagon, high-ranking US generals are extremely upset, so they dispatch another submarine to investigate and assess the situation. Captain Glass, with 25 years of life spent underwater, is assigned to this daring mission. He is currently hunting in Scotland when he receives an urgent summons to return. At the Scottish Naval Base, the USS Arkansas submarine is docked here. The sailors are loading dozens of torpedoes onto the ship, preparing for any potential confrontation. Glass is wandering around the ship when he overhears some gossip about him. He grabs the mic to address the crew and calm them down. Listen, I was once a sailor like you all. I spent my whole life underwater. I even missed my father's funeral. This silences everyone. At that moment, a female intelligence officer informs the US Navy admiral that the Russian president is heading to Kola Island, which is also where the American submarine was sunk not long ago. They need to send a special forces team there to monitor Russia's actions, to verify if Russia is really preparing for war with the US. In the Mojave Desert, a 4-member Marine Corps team is conducting a hostage rescue drill. After completing their mission, the team leader is extremely angry. The team leader shouts at the team's sniper, "If you keep being this slow, the whole team will die. Listen, guys, we have a reconnaissance mission to the Russian military base in the Arctic. I fear we may not come back this time. Fortunately, it's just a reconnaissance mission, so it's not too dangerous." On the other side, the USS Arkansas nuclear submarine has arrived in Russian waters. They start surfacing to get fresh air. At this point, it looks like a shark hunting its prey. But this shark is just sneaking around in someone else's waters. If the owner of the waters finds out, they are definitely in big trouble. They then dive 300 feet to hide. The reconnaissance team has arrived to investigate. They release a small probe outside. The missing submarine is quickly discovered. The compartment is filled with floating bodies. Over 110 people, including the captain and the entire crew, all dead. They found a large hole caused by a torpedo hit. Glass immediately orders the probe to withdraw. Everyone prepares for combat. Sure enough, a Russian submarine appears above them. Before any warning could be given, the Russian submarine launches 2 torpedoes to attack the USS Arkansas. Glass immediately orders to launch decoy torpedoes, causing the enemy's torpedoes to temporarily lose their target. With 25 years of experience, he's not a rookie. He orders to prepare for retaliation. Glass orders to fire a counter-torpedo, but the Russian submarine is positioned between 2 icebergs, causing the torpedo to lose its target. With all his experience, Glass orders the torpedo to circle twice, finally hitting the target. A direct hit causes the Russian submarine to explode, but the celebration lasted less than 2 seconds, because the 2 torpedoes from earlier have escaped the decoy system. Glass orders the submarine to stay close to the ocean floor, then turns the submarine to the far right. The torpedo strikes the wreck of the old submarine, exploding immediately. Fortunately, his ship only experienced a minor shock with little damage. Everyone is stunned, unsure of what's happening. Are the Russian soldiers challenging them? Confused, Glass is informed that there are 3 long knocks and 3 short knocks on the ocean floor. This is a distress signal. So, there are people trapped underwater. The captain orders the search equipment, which discovers a Russian submarine. This is not the submarine he just destroyed, because it has a hole caused by an internal explosion, not from being shot from the outside. So, Russia is undergoing a civil war. Why this civil war happened, no one knows. A submarine has been destroyed. But first, they need to rescue people. Dozens of questions from the crew. But the captain decides to rescue them, because only the people inside that submarine can answer all their questions. At a depth of over 700 feet, it could crush their small submarine at any moment. On top of that, with strong currents, the rescue becomes extremely difficult. After landing on the debris, they rescue 3 people. One is the captain. The other 2 are crew members from the submarine. The 3 are shivering from the cold at the bottom of the Arctic Sea. The captain orders them to be sent for medical care first, but then orders his men to lock the Russian captain up. Meanwhile, a helicopter brings the Russian president to the Russian naval base. At Polyarny, General Dmitry, Russian Minister of Defense, arrives to greet the Russian president. At this time, the Russian president learns that another submarine has been destroyed. General Dmitry urges the president to respond forcefully to the US submarine. But the president is a wise man. Before making a decision, he wants to call the US president to find out what's happening. Meanwhile, a 4-member special forces team successfully parachutes into Russian territory. Their mission is to infiltrate the Russian naval base on land, to spy and transmit images back to the US base. The US doesn't know what Russia is planning, but fears that war may break out. Russia is gathering all its heavy weapons. The Russian president is also there. Clearly, Russia is making a big move, but the US didn't expect they would witness something even more horrifying. The Russian president realizes something is wrong. All communication with the outside is cut off. Dmitri's men directly shoot the president's bodyguards. Now, Dmitri has total control over the Russian military, through remote-controlled CCTV. Senior leaders in the Pentagon can hear and witness the whole situation clearly. With dozens of heavy weapons, including intercontinental cruise missiles, clearly, this is not a regular exercise. It is highly likely that Russia will attack the US in the near future. Dmitri brings the Russian president closer to the coast, then orders to shoot all of his bodyguards. There's no doubt anymore. Dmitri is carrying out his treasonous plot. It turns out he couldn't stand America's arrogance any longer. Dmitri believes that the Russian president is weak and conservative. So, he blew up his own submarine. Then blamed the US for it. Additionally, he attacked 2 US submarines, to provoke war between the two countries. Now the Russian president is in his hands. And now he can do whatever he wants without consulting anyone. The US witnesses the Russian president being betrayed, so they decide to rescue him to prevent the war. 4 special forces members sent to investigate now become the team to rescue the Russian president. Their mission hadn't even started. Then they were exposed. A Russian search team is tracking them down. On the other side, Captain Glass receives orders to head to Russia's Murmansk Bay, to rescue the Russian president and his men, because the area near the Russian coastline has many underwater mines and sonar sensors. To get through, they need a local guide. Glass comes up with the idea of finding the Russian captain. He shows him the photo of the hole in the damaged submarine. This was done by Dmitri's people. He's holding the president captive. Think carefully about this. At first, the Russian submarine captain doesn't believe it, but with such clear evidence, it cannot be denied. Up above, the 4-member US Special Forces team hiding above is spotted by a Russian soldier who raises his gun to check. Unfortunately, one of them is hit in the leg. Then they leave when they find nothing. The injured soldier will be assigned a different task. The other 3 members proceed directly into the Russian base. The US submarine has entered Russian waters. Captain Glass enters the control room and instructs the crew to bring the submarine in slowly, keeping as quiet as possible. After thinking for a moment, the Russian captain fears the submarine will hit a mine, killing everyone. So he decides to reveal the path to guide them, to get through danger together. Despite objections from the crew, Captain Glass still trusts him completely. I will bring this matter to a military tribunal. Oh really? Then I'll make sure you live long enough to be a witness. The submarine is maneuvered through dangerous areas with ease. At the bottom of the bay, there is a dense minefield. Without the Russian captain's guidance, even if they were gods, they wouldn't make it through this. No sailor dares to breathe heavily. A slight mistake and they'd all be gone. One man with a wrench finishes tightening a bolt, but slips and drops it. Luckily, he catches it just in time, or they'd all be doomed. The Russian captain leads the submarine into a shortcut. Despite everyone's doubts, there's no way that's a road. This map is wrong. To someone as experienced as Glass, his life principle is, trust people and don't doubt them, but if you doubt them, don't use them. With no other choice, they all follow him without question. At first, the submarine enters a narrow path, and everyone starts to doubt whether the Russian captain will lead them to their doom. But those were just the timid ones. In the end, they realize he's doing the right thing. After an hour, the submarine safely emerges into open waters, waiting for the special forces to come rescue the president. Meanwhile, the 3 members of the special forces suit up and dive into the Russian naval base. Upon reaching the shore, they spot a bodyguard of the Russian president. He raises his gun and asks, "Who are you?" One replies, "Take it easy, friend. We're just 3 ghosts passing by. We are the team here to rescue your president." The bodyguard is treated by the soldiers, then shakes their hands and leads them into the base. They climb the building with their bare hands, reaching the top floor. They clear out all the guards, then place explosives at the door of the Russian president's cell. They set up a perimeter, ready to defend. The bomb explodes, and that's when General Dmitri realizes there's been an infiltration. Immediately, gunfire erupts. One of the team members is wounded. The bodyguard bravely stays behind to fight back, while the other 2 drag the Russian president down a rope and flee. The bodyguard alone is no match for Durov's men. He knows this already. Armed with 2 grenades, he uses his body to trigger the bomb. A huge explosion occurs, blowing everything apart. Unfortunately, the explosion causes an officer to fall to his death. The 2 remaining members help the president escape. Behind them, the enemies chase, firing continuously. The Russian president is shot, but the director doesn't let him die just yet. It seems all hope is lost. In a life-threatening moment, the sniper from earlier stays behind and provides long-range cover. But above, the enemies keep firing. The US team leader stands up, using a grenade launcher to attack them. From afar, the sniper takes down a few more enemies. With coordinated effort, The Russian soldiers retreat. 2 US soldiers drag the president down a slope, then escort him toward the beach. When they see their submarine has surfaced, the enemy is almost upon them. Everyone jumps into the water, swimming quickly toward the ship. The Russian soldiers fire incessantly at the group. One member stays behind to provide cover, but seeing the urgent situation, he jumps into the water to retreat. However, the Russian soldiers continue to pursue, firing continuously into the water. The soldier swimming in the water is shot and killed, and sinks into the sea. When the Russian president is aboard the submarine, the team leader decides to return to save his comrades. General Dmitry learns that the Russian president has boarded the US submarine, and orders the warship to approach and attack at any moment. A warship equipped with the latest weapons sets off. The Dachanko warship is ordered to attack the USS Arkansas. Immediately, a barrage of missiles is launched. Meanwhile, Captain Glass, after rescuing the president, throws a small boat out to lure the missiles. The submarine is ordered to go full speed to escape. The missiles dive into the water and explode right next to the submarine. The shockwaves cause significant damage. The ship is damaged and water begins to leak inside. If this continues, even if they're not struck by missiles, they will drown due to the flooding. Luckily, Captain Glass dives the ship to a safe depth. But before they can celebrate, the warship has spotted the submarine. 2 torpedoes are launched. A torpedo countermeasure is activated. But there's still one more torpedo heading towards the ship. Glass initially planned to launch a torpedo to destroy the enemy warship. But recalling that they were all students of the Russian captain, he temporarily decided to abandon the idea of creating more enemies. He asked the Russian captain, "What's at the bottom of the sea?" The Russian captain replied, "It's all mud." Glass then orders the submarine to dive deeper into the seabed. Just as the Russian captain said, the seabed is all mud. The explosion does not affect the ship. At the US base, everything is chaotic. The US military chief of staff is preparing to order the North Atlantic Fleet to attack Russian territory. If a war really happens, it could lead to an apocalyptic day for humanity. The Russian general also orders the Northern Fleet to prepare for battle. He is very excited because everything is going according to his plan. Will this confrontation happen, and which side will win? No one knows. But certainly, this senseless battle will cause tens of millions, even hundreds of millions, of deaths. The sniper in the forest is being chased by Russian soldiers, and his leg is injured. After running for a while, he reaches a dead end, throws his gun down in surrender but is still sentenced to death. Prepare to meet your ancestors. But the team leader arrives just in time. Well done, kid, now I'll get you out of this hellhole. The USS Arkansas submarine is responding to being pierced, water flooding in. Some compartments are badly damaged by fire and explosion. Everyone is panicking, losing composure. Glass calms everyone down and cleans up the mess. The captain goes to speak with the Russian president. He wants to talk to his military, but as soon as he surfaces, he is shot. The ship is now heavily damaged. The torpedo tubes are no longer usable. A torpedo falls and crushes a sailor. The crew shouts to lift the torpedo, but the noise alerts Russia to the submarine's location. Russia returns and prepares to attack again. The submarine and the Russian president are like fish on a chopping block. At this point, the Russian captain says that those on the Dachanko warship are soldiers he trained. Glass decides to place his trust in them, believing they will listen to him. The Russian captain explains everything happening. To change the situation, he ordered them not to attack immediately. When they heard the voice of the Russian captain, the Russian naval soldiers were completely confused. On one side is the general, the minister of defense. On the other side is the Russian president. They didn't know what to do. The submarine surfaced, and the Russian president spoke with supreme authority. Do not fire at the American submarine. The people on the Russian ship called General Dmitry, saying they would not fire at this ship. Seeing the soldiers disobeying him, General Dmitry ordered the launch of missiles, aimed directly at the USS Arkansas submarine. He needed to kill the president to silence him, then blamed the US for the kidnapping and assassination of the president, escalating the war to its peak. At this moment, Captain Glass found himself in a difficult situation. Although he still had Tomahawk cruise missiles to stop the attack, if he launched them, the Russian ship would immediately retaliate. But if he remained silent and did nothing, he would only wait for death. A series of heavy missile launchers from Russia were launched by General Dmitry. If he didn't remove this thorn in his side today, sooner or later, the one dead and broken would be him. The missiles on the shore were getting close to their submarine. Captain Glass was still quietly thinking. The crew on the ship was panicking, each hiding in different places, urging him, push the button. The countdown was at 5 seconds. But Glass still didn't give the order to fire. Was he really going to die with everyone else? Only 3 seconds left. The missile was about to hit the ship. Then suddenly, all of them were shot down by the destroyer's missile defense guns. The Russian warship successfully intercepted all the missiles in time. It turned out that Glass had gambled the life of the Russian president in this battle, to see if they would remain loyal to the president. Luckily, they understood the situation. To protect the president, the soldiers had no choice but to act. After that, they fired 2 missiles at the Russian naval base, where General Dmitry was watching the battle. It seems that General Dmitry has been branded a traitor. He saw the missiles heading towards him, and knew he had completely failed. The Russian base exploded, engulfed in smoke and flames. The threat of war breaking out has been resolved. The sailors on the ship finally acknowledge Glass. At the end of the film, Captain Glass escorts the Russian president back. The Russian captain also showed respect for him, seeing him as a true friend. Afterwards, the two Marines, battered and bruised, boarded the submarine. And with the support of two warships, they safely returned home. The movie ends here. The ending of the film praises peace. So it's worth watching. Thank you for supporting me, so I can continue contributing content for you. If you liked it, give me a like, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this movie. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel to follow my latest movie summaries. See you again, my dear friends.